instead of a conclusion. Copper leaves drifted slowly around the bench, carried by a gentle autumn breeze. The late afternoon sun painted everything in warm shades of gold and copper as Michael and Jennifer sat close together on the old wooden bench. Their feet touched a mottled carpet of dry leaves that rustled with every small movement. Jennifer pulled her beige coat tighter around her slender frame and smiled softly when she felt Michael's arms slip around her shoulders, offering warmth. The crisp air flushed her cheeks, and their breath turned into fine mist, like whispers lost in the air. A few steps away, their little girl played happily, chasing leaves and letting out a clear, ringing laugh every time she managed to catch one. She wore a bright red sweater and a cream knit cap, and her golden curls gleamed in the slanting sunlight. Michael watched her, his brown eyes full of deep tenderness. The same Michael she had fallen in love with, now with a few silver strands at his temples, but with the same sincere smile. She touched his hand, absently toying with his wedding ring. Michael turned to her and caught her gaze, bright with memories. "What are you thinking about?" he asked softly, a hint of a smile at the corner of his mouth, as his fingers gently stroked her shoulder through the fabric of her coat. Jennifer rested her head on his shoulder, watching the trees in front of them sway their bare branches. A cluster of russet leaves came loose then and drifted through the air, passing before them. "I was thinking about our first date," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "This autumn takes me back to that one." Michael tilted his head slightly, bringing his cheek closer to her chestnut hair, which smelled of October wind and her familiar perfume. "How could I forget?" he replied, his voice warm. "It feels like it all happened yesterday." Jennifer let out a quick laugh. She remembered the emotions that had overwhelmed her that day. She could see young Michael now, standing awkwardly in front of the cafe where they had arranged to meet. He wore a navy jacket and held 2 steaming cups of coffee. He'd bought one for her too, as a surprise. When he saw her, he gave a slightly hesitant wave, with a shy smile. Jennifer had almost run to him through the carpet of leaves, her heart pounding. She remembered how ridiculously happy she had felt seeing him waiting for her. From then on, his gentle gaze would become home to her. "You were so nervous that evening, remember?" Michael continued, playing with a strand of her hair. "You were trembling all over when I handed you the coffee." Jennifer lifted her head and looked at him, smiling. Her brown eyes sparkled with playful light. "I was trembling. What about you?" she said, arching her brows with a mischievous air. "Your hands were—" "How they were shaking. Yes, I admit it," Michael finished with a soft laugh. "Did you think I didn't notice you'd spilled a little coffee on your finger? I was sure you'd get scared and leave on the spot." Jennifer shook her head, amused. She remembered it perfectly, how she'd sipped the hot coffee to hide her smile, how her heart had been racing. "The truth is, I felt like running too," she joked, then quickly corrected herself when she saw Michael's startled face. "Running away with you, not from you. I was overwhelmed, in a good way." Michael smiled broadly, the fine lines around his eyes deepening pleasantly. "In the end, you didn't run anywhere," he whispered, "and it's a good thing you didn't." She answered by squeezing his hand, then let her head sink back onto his shoulder, looking ahead. In front of them, the little girl kept chasing leaves, laughing and giggling beneath the protective gaze of an old oak. Jennifer drew the cold air into her chest and closed her eyes for a moment, letting other images surface. "Do you remember the first time you kissed me?" she asked, almost in a whisper, as if to herself. Michael turned slightly toward her so he could see her better. A gentle blush had risen in Jennifer's cheeks at the memory of that moment. "If I remember," he sighed, a smile in his eyes. "The sky was full of stars that night. I was holding your hand, and I was so afraid I'd ruin everything." Jennifer laughed softly. You were so shy, she recalled. You were sitting on that park bench under the old street lamp, and you didn't know how to get closer. Michael nodded, pretending he was still amazed at his own boldness back then. Yeah, I felt like an awkward kid. But you looked at me with those big, honest eyes, and I worked up the courage. You kissed me out of the blue, Jennifer went on, filling in the story in a dreamy voice. Your lips were so warm and sure, and my knees went so weak, I thought I was going to fall off the bench, she admitted with a quiet laugh. Michael burst into that infectious laugh of his, then pressed his forehead to hers in a tender gesture. Do you know what you said right after? He asked, with a mischievous glint. Jennifer bit her lip, trying to remember. Only the heady feeling from that moment came back, the way the world had stopped for the two of them beneath the night sky. I can't remember. I was on cloud 9, literally, she said, smiling. What did I say? You said wow, Michael replied, mimicking her awestruck voice. That was it, wow. Jennifer let out a soft, affectionate laugh, and Michael brushed her cheek with the back of his fingers, taking in the love now openly shining in her eyes. I mean, I wasn't exactly capable of words, she admitted, hiding her flushed face against his chest for a moment. He held her, and a few stray leaves drifted down at their feet like colourful notes from the past. For a while they both stayed quiet, letting the wind whisper memories to them. Every corner of the park seemed to evoke something. The bend in the path where they first held hands, the lakeshore where they spun wild plans for the future, the tree under which Michael had proposed on a summer day. All those moments, sweet, reckless, sometimes painful, floated now through the autumn air like dandelion fluff, brushing against them and making them smile with a touch of wistfulness. Jennifer lifted her gaze to the clear sky, where the sun was slowly sinking toward the horizon. Out of nowhere, her eyes grew moist, betraying a deep emotion. We've had hard times, she said slowly, almost to herself. Times when I thought the two of us would never make it here. Michael's arm tightened around her instinctively, as if shielding her from the echo of old hurts. He looked at her gravely now, as the wind gently tossed chestnut strands across her cheeks. I know, he said quietly. I thought I'd lost you too. His voice broke for a moment, and Jennifer felt his heart beating faster against her. She remembered the tears in Michael's eyes on a cold, rainy night, the desperation in his voice as he begged her forgiveness. That image still clenched at her heart, but now, with the years between them, it felt like a long-vanished storm over a calm ocean. She turned slightly toward him and touched his face with her palm, tracing the line of his jaw with her thumb. Michael closed his eyes for a second at the warmth of her touch. Shh, it's over, darling, Jennifer whispered. It's been over for a long time. Michael opened his eyes, and in them flickered gratitude and endless love. He brought his forehead to hers, leaning into each other there on their bench. Thank you, Jennifer, for believing in us, for staying, he said sincerely. Jennifer felt a hot tear slide down her cheek, but a smile lit her face. I don't regret a single moment, Michael. I loved you. I love you. And I knew that somewhere, beneath all the wounds, there was us. We were worth saving, she said softly, her words trembling slightly. Michael quickly brushed away her tear with his finger, then kissed her gently on the forehead. They sank into a warm embrace, and neither said another word. There was no need. Nearby, their little girl giggled with delight upon finding a large golden yellow leaf. She ran back to her parents, cheeks flushed and eyes shining. Mommy, Daddy, look, the little one cried, showing them her trophy, the huge leaf which she held up with both hands. "Look what a beautiful leaf I found." Jennifer and Michael gently loosened their embrace and welcomed their daughter between them. Jennifer scooped her up, laughing. "It's wonderful, Emily," she exclaimed, "a true enchanted autumn leaf." The little girl stroked her cheek with the leaf, letting it brush her nose. Jennifer pretended to be tickled and gave a playful sneeze, drawing another merry giggle from the little one. Michael pulled his girls into an embrace, closing his eyes for a moment. A deep peace settled in his soul. He had them here in his arms, the love of his life and that small being who was part of them both. Every hardship they had weathered, every fear, had led him to this perfect moment. "Come on," he said gently. "It's almost evening. Let's head home slowly." Jennifer set the little girl down, holding her tiny hand. Michael stood too, brushed the remaining leaves from his pants, and slipped his free arm around Jennifer's waist. Emily, with the huge leaf in one hand and her other hand clasped in her mother's, walked cheerfully between them. They set off at a leisurely pace along the path, as if gilded by the last rays. Their long shadows were cast across the leaf-strewn path, weaving into a single, playful silhouette. Jennifer and Michael cast one last glance at the bench where they had sat, a witness to their old emotions and their unspoken promises. Then they turned their eyes forward, toward the end of the path. Even now, as if by reflex, Michael's hand sought Jennifer's. Their fingers intertwined smoothly, with the ease of a gesture practiced over a lifetime. They walked in a shared rhythm, matching their steps almost without thinking. The leaves rustled beneath their soles, an echo of all the moments they had lived together. In the softening light, the three of them left the park, as if stepping out of a story. Behind them, the bench, now covered with leaves, remained silent, keeping in its wood the whispered stories of youth, and the bare trees swayed gently, as if bidding farewell.